those parallels for you. In this case, it's Mary at a house in Bethany. Can you find the material? I think it's in Luke. There's a house in Bethany that I think Mary is there too. Can any of you find that for me? I don't know if I have the. I can't click around as quickly as. Let's see. Is it Luke 16 or something? I can't find it. It's the 16 is the one about the dogs licking his sores.
Luke 10?
Is it Luke 10? Oh, yeah, there. And they went on, 10:38, and entered a certain village, and a certain woman named Martha received him into his house. And a sister called Mary was sitting at the feet of Jesus, listening to his words. That doesn't mention Bethany as such, but that is, of course, the parallel there. But you see, Luke doesn't know that these are the sisters of Lazarus, and it doesn't even know much more about them than this, only that Martha didn't like serving. His sister gets all of the benefits. She's sitting at Jesus' feet, listening to his words. And so on and so forth. So this is a very kind of mysterious little parallel note, but it's very incomplete. There is another Bethany thing. Maybe it's Simon the leper's house at Bethany in the Synoptics. Can anyone find those scenes for me? But thanks for finding that one. That's a good parallel. You say, well, what's wrong with that? Well, the fact is that clearly John has fleshed it out further, and it is the author of Luke doesn't know the material John knows, and vice versa, and certainly doesn't know anything about Lazarus being their brother, because for Luke, Lazarus is the dogs under the table person, and that's all Luke knows about Lazarus, I think. And Luke does speak about resurrection regarding Lazarus, because he then has, after the dog under the table licking his sores, he has some people after the resurrection in a parable follow that right up in Luke 16. So there is resurrection material, but nothing like what you get fleshed out in John. What about, I don't have my, let's see. Can you find Simon the leper material? Let's look at that one. You see any of that Simon the leper material in Matthew and Mark? Anyway, while you're looking for it, I will continue. Anyway, there was, we did this, the sick one. What? See, here Lazarus is sick. In the Luke, he's under the table with sores. And Martha anointed the Lord with ointment and wiped his feet with her hair. So Jesus then cures Lazarus here, I think, and stays with him. Then Thomas, 16, called Didymus, appears. And then in line 21, Martha says to Jesus, Martha here being more heroic than Mary at this point, she talks to Jesus and compliments, if you had not been here, my brother would have not been saved. And then later in 32, Mary falls down at his feet. Here's the feet material, but she's not listening to his lectures at his feet. She's falling at his feet like many of these women do with the alabaster flask and stuff. What's the...
Matthew 26:6.
Okay, Matthew 26:6. Let's just take a quick look at that. And what's it in Mark? Do you know? 26:6. Oh, here it is. Okay. And line 5. Now, during the feast, there was an uproar. Now, Jesus was in Bethany at the house of Simon the leper. There we go. So in Matthew and Mark, in Bethany, it's the house of Simon the leper, not as in Luke, the house of Mary and Martha and Lazarus. Okay? Now we say, so what? Well, because this is similar kinds of things. A woman came to him, not them, with an alabaster cask of precious ointment and poured it on his head. And the ointment, here the disciples say, should have been sold and given to the poor. Now we're going to find that in the Gospel of John, but it's not the disciples who say that. Who says it in the Gospel of John?
Judas.
Judas Iscariot, right? Judas Iscariot. So you say, what are you trying to prove? Well, I'm trying to show that these people are just playing around with this material. It's like tossing it up in the air. Okay, we'll put it like this, we'll phrase it like this, we'll phrase it like this, we'll phrase it like this. You say, well, it must be historical then. Not necessarily. I don't know what it is. I can't judge. You're the judge. All I know is that they're juggling it from one gospel to the other. So where's the eyewitness account here? I don't think it exists. I think these are some of the traditions they're playing with, and I think they are playing with them. And I'll give you one of the biggest ones. I think is it Matthew 7. Let me go back to Matthew 7. There's another woman that comes and she does everything. She does all the things that all the ones do. It's either Luke or Matthew 7. I think it's probably Luke 7. Let's see. Let me find Luke 7. This is really tough to do on one foot. Oh yes, I think it's here. I think. Yeah, here it is. After the tax collectors justify God in line 29 of 7, and then John the Baptist now has the demon in line 33, not Jesus. And wisdom being justified by our children in line 34. I like to see the context here. Now Jesus goes to a Pharisee's house. Not Simon the leper's house. And a woman in the city brought an alabaster bottle of ointment. So now he's at a Pharisee's house. Turns out this is Simon the Pharisee, not Simon the leper. So I told you how things switch around here. Now this woman does everything. And standing behind, weeping beside his feet. You see, it's tough to throw all this stuff up. I do it in my New Testament code book, which is what the code is all about, all these materials. And standing behind him, weeping beside his feet, she began to wash his feet with her tears, and she was wiping them with the hairs of his head, and she was lovingly kissing his feet and anointing them with oil. Well, she was really going mad. She was doing what all the other episodes do together. She was having the good time. Now the Pharisee who invited him then said, this one, if he were a prophet, would have known what kind of woman touches him. She's a sinner. That's Paul, Gentile sinner material. We are all Gentile sinners, Gentiles being considered